The preservation of anglophone culture has often been looked upon within the political prism of the elite class, but many people neglect the fact that a culture of a nation, a culture of a people, can be best explained in acts which cumulate to the entertainment industry. Today, it is common to see how government neglect and even neglect from the political class within that industry is concerned. One would have thought that the political class championing the preservation of the anglophone culture that has accumulated into a 5 years, 6 years ongoing armed conflict within the northwest and the southwest region, dubbed West Cameroon, dubbed Southern Cameroon in different appellations, would have been championed by promoting the entertainment industry to move over with the culture and let generations to come to understand what the anglophone culture really is. It is true that the culture of a people can best explain the deontology of the historical fact and also the theoretical side of a nation. But how much emphasis is being placed on our culture and an entertainment industry such that they can help promote the anglophone culture? Have the entertainers themselves also abandoned the preservation of the anglophone culture into the hands of political elite? What role is government playing to promote the entertainment industry, to protect and preserve and promote our culture in a different facet and different perspective? Isn't it time for the government also to have its own national dialogue with entertainers and see how they can help in bringing peace and stability in Cameroon? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest. It is the song you will get across churches within the world, especially the Catholic churches, where you will get the Hosanna song, which often explains the mystagogy when Jesus entered Jerusalem. Hosanna. The people shouted, Hosanna, Hosanna. And to all those of you who went to church today, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to the Bishop of Boya, His Lordship Michael Bibi, and all the Christians across the globe and those celebrating Happy Sunday, Palm Sunday, including those who did not go to church but have palms in their door. Happy Sunday to you all. In the studio, we are going to look at have the entertainers, Anglophone entertainment industry abandoned the preservation of the Anglophone culture into the hands of the political elite. Here in the studio, we have one of the pillars of the entertainment industry, especially those that are promoting culture in Cameroon and who have put in their all, regardless of the little support they get, to ensure that the Anglophone culture is preserved in its truth, honesty, and loyalty. He has also been someone who has been described by some bounty patriot as controversial, someone who speaks his mind and ensure that nobody should be above the law and no one should be below the law, risking it all to get to the refugee centers in Nigeria, moving across Moyuka, Manfe, the northwest and the southwest region to get the voices of the common man and to be heard and ensure that he channels them to the quarters that be. Gilbert, CEO of CAMIF. Happy Sunday.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, and thank you for inviting me. It's my first time to be here, and it's been a long time I have accepted any interview since the beginning of this crisis, because the crisis has actually touched me personally in different ways. My junior brother, who was also the mayor of Manfe, was killed because of this crisis. My businesses in Manfe have been destroyed because of this crisis. My community as a whole, the Ejagam clan, has been highly affected because my people are mostly the ones who are refugees today in Nigeria. Manu has been highly affected by the crisis. And this crisis, before the declaration of a complete armed solution by the head of state when he came back from Senegal, I guess, or Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast.
Yeah. I think in September.
Yeah.
The young man who was killed in Manfe, and the retaliation of killing the 4 gendarmes happened in Manu, in Akwen. So Manu has been highly affected in a community where it's so close, and also with a lot of potential across where you have Nigeria and the biggest market in West Africa, the Aba market and the Onitsha market. We were very happy that the route linking Cameroon to Manfe, to Manu as a whole was being realized. So I saw a possibility of actually moving back to Manfe and settling in Manfe, and coupled with the fact that there were regular flights up in Bafut, I knew that, okay, I could actually leave Manfe and go to Bafut, catch my flight, go to Yaoundé, come back to Bafut, and then drive 1 hour, 15 minutes, and back in Manfe. So I had a lot of plans, a lot of things to do in my community. But right now, you can't even walk in Manu freely. I went to bury my father a few months ago. It was a tussle between the independentist fighters and the state armed forces, and I was caught in the middle. So you could see the military, very young people who are fighting to prevent this crisis to escalate more. On the other side, you can still see young people who are fighting to push the agenda for a need for an inclusive negotiation. So it is very sad to see that this crisis is started back from when we came together as a people in the 1961 Fumban conference, and which certain agreements have not been respected.
Some violated.
Some violated, and today it is my generation that is dying to prevent the mistakes of the old people. The old people made a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of dishonesty. There's been a lot of lies, manipulation, and bad faith. So it's of no use to see that young Cameroonians from the armed forces, young Cameroonians from those they call separatist fighters, are killing themselves. You know, if you don't see yourself as a Cameroonian, see yourself as an African, because I'm a Pan-Africanist. So the blood that is coming out of the body of the one you call Amber Boys is red, and the one that is coming out of the one you call the military is red. So we are all human beings, and the Bible, like the Quran, say nobody has the right to kill another person. Okay. So I stand for justice.
Thank you very much, and you have been kidnapped more than 5 times.
6 times to be precise.
Thank you very much. Also, we have Emmanuel, very vocal, also described as controversial. Sometimes he was asked maybe to move out of Douala and to go back to where he's coming from because he has been blunt as far as the conflict is concerned. Emmanuel, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tah Mai Jarvis. Thank you, my dear panelists. It's a pleasure to be on your platform once more after a long time. You know, today is Palm Sunday, and I must say to the Christian faithfuls, happy Palm Sunday. And we should recollect the memories that it is today that Judas sold Jesus Christ with the kiss of hypocrisy. And of course, if Cameroon have been draining down to where it is today, it is because of a lot of hypocrisy. But if we were to live together, to love one another, not in hypocrisy, I think we can change the tides of time. Since we are talking about culture today, I want to greet the fun of Com and the palace of Com.
And the fun of Bambalang is nowhere to be found, eh?
Well, let the people of Bambalang look for where their phone is, because I know that my phone is safe. I always say.
Son Derick, happy Sunday and welcome.
Thank you very much, Tah Mai Jarvis. It's always a pleasure to share the platform with fine brains, and of course to all our listeners, especially viewers of House of Common. We, from the civil society, we believe that while the political whims are failing us, we cannot stay put and quiet. We have to say it the way it is, and we are defining patriotism the way it is. Although in our country, patriotism has been defined as supporting CPDM, but we see it differently, as love for fatherland, love for motherland, love for one another. And of course, while we think that we're going to be discussing on culture, especially things that affect the very core of our country, we pray that we are going to have a good brain tussle. Happy Palm Sunday to all the Christian faithful all over the world. It is Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest.
You said patriotism has been defined as supporting CPDM. As who? By who? Who defined that as a way of supporting CPDM? Because Cameroonians see patriotism as more of a love of their fatherland.
You say Cameroonians, maybe you. Cameroonians see patriotism as a love of the CPDM. I think I don't need to elaborate on that because...
What do you mean by love for CPDM?
Yes, when you support the party in power, that's what they call patriotism. When you are critical about who is in power, they term you to be unpatriotic. But when you speak the truth, they look at you to be unpatriotic, which is very wrong.
Thank you very much, Nsungkikang. The CEO of CMR, Gilbert, I'll begin with you on the topic of today. Have Anglophone entertainers abandoned the preservation of the West Cmr culture to the hands of the political class? Because this conflict started from an identity conflict where persons say that the Anglophone culture must be preserved. And we've seen in other nations, you are someone who is of an international standard. If we go by the political class, we'll say you are a diplomat in the entertainment industry. We've seen other countries, when things like this happen, the entertainment industry is at the forefront of fighting against injustice. But the case of Cameroon maybe is different.
Well, Mr. Jarvis, you can't blame the Cameroonian entertainers of the Anglo-Saxon background if some of them choose to be mute. You can't blame them. We are living in a country that is, some people have decided to become so vicious that you don't want to talk with the other person so you guys can reach an arrangement or an agreement. We are living in a country where some people believe if they speak, you should not speak. Their word is law. So it actually ignites this fear and this worry for people to actually be very cautious of how and what will happen if they should speak out. The artists in the entertainment of the Anglo-Saxon background have done a lot. You know, artists like Mr. Liu, they did a song, A Prayer for My Country, that I know very well. Salatier did a song. Tizi Panchak did a song. I've seen Max Lyonga do painting about the same crisis. I've watched a movie, Where We Come From, that is also has to do with after the school boycott or the campaign for kids not to go to school. We've actually used our platform to talk, you know. I created a film festival in 2016 at the beginning of the crisis. And I've tried to stay consistent with the festival because the festival has given room for a lot of young people who were going astray. Every day they come, within the 6-day period, they take master classes in acting, in directing, in filmmaking. They go back home with acquiring some knowledge in terms of how they can put themselves together, they can go ahead and make a career as filmmakers. We have not abandoned our culture. There is one fine truth that is never going to change. Cameroon is a twin nation. You like it, you don't like it, you can change that.
What do you mean by twin nation? Two
people came together to form a republic. They came together in 1961 to form the Federal Republic of Cameroon. If along time the manipulation kicked in, and Ayijo said it was too expensive to run a two system, and decided to annul the federal system and then engage in a unitary system. Then today we find ourselves in a position where we come back to La République du Cameroun, which initially had an understanding between the two people, which is Southern Cameroon and La République du Cameroun, that after 1961, they ceased to be La République du Cameroun and they ceased to be Southern Cameroon. They becomes a West Cameroon and a East Cameroon. And now people are asking the question, if you have come back to La République du Cameroun, what happened to Southern Cameroon? And you say no, you cannot sit with them to actually clarify how we move into La République du Cameroun. Preferably, you will move your might to actually crush them. It's a mistake. Because you are the one who has actually created the situation where people now are beginning to ask themselves.
More of a colonialism.
Either you have recolonized them or you have conquered them. So if you look at my approach in this whole thing from the beginning, I'm an anti-violent person. I don't encourage violence from nobody because the world has changed. Today you cannot even beat your own child. So why would you be in a situation where the law prevents you from beating your own child, but you think you have the right to point a gun at somebody and shoot to enforce the law? So in my campaign for peace, I've always said that the people of the Cameroons need to sit together and beat out a way to ending this crisis. I remember my mentor and father, spiritual godfather, Christian Kadnatumi, said that the people of Southern Cameroons needed to come together to agree on what they should approach the government to present in a united front. And we saw people who came up to say, over their dead body, they will not allow Kadnatumi to engage on this conference. But this conference would have paved the way for a very, very more
non-violent approach.
Less violent approach. And the national dialogue would have been more effective, more productive, and it would have actually solved the problem. Because at that point, the people would have been able to send a committee of people to represent their aspiration. I was at a national dialogue, and I had a misunderstanding with the then mayor, may so rest in peace, Mayor Akeba. I told him, because when they said the people should come and talk, they should, Nijon was saying that they should go back to a two-state federation. Akeba stood up and said, they can never go back to a two-state federation. His people are advocating for effective decentralization. And I told him, I said, Patrick, you're lying. Because you did not come here sent by the Bakure people to speak their aspirations. I did not come here sent even by my village in Noko people to speak what they want. I came here as me. My invitation was addressed to Gilbert. Yours was addressed to Ekema Patrick Nsungkikang. You are not here to speak the aspiration of the people of Southern Cameroon. So even those who went there during the national dialogue, including myself, saying that they are here to speak and to make decisions for what will be the end of the crisis. I think I should be the only person who traveled to the refugee camp to ask the refugees in Nigeria,
what do you want?
What do you want? And they wrote their own recommendations. The recommendation was signed by over 300 plus refugees, and I brought it to the Prime Minister. And in one of those recommendations, they were saying, do not engage in this dialogue when our people are still in prison. Do not engage in this dialogue while we are still in the refugee camp. Okay, if you're engaging in the dialogue while we are still in the refugee camp, at least release those who are in prison. Let them be part of the process. But none of that was needed to, because we saw people who came and said they are elites from different communities and who posed themselves. Today, all we can see is that these same people are positioning themselves and their kids in position of government, and that's the only achievement that I can see that we have had after the national dialogue.
Thank you. We'll be coming back to that. You said the Anglophone entertainers have not abandoned. I'm quite aware because I attended the first CAMIF, and it was true. It's true that more was to empower the youth and ensure that the culture is spread, share among Anglophones, and such an initiative is lofty, and you've not abandoned even at the heart of the crisis. I was also in 2017 when many were advocating that it should be moved to Douala, but you stood your ground that Boya should be the center.
There's been this campaign for Info Amenesa Douala Obia Yaoundé. They keep saying those things, and when they say those things, they mean it, because they don't give us the support we need to run the festival. So the reason why we're doing the festival in Boya, first, the festival was designed in an Anglo-Saxon manner. Unlike the French festivals, where the jury panel is actually being seen and celebrated, like in Cannes. But the Anglo-Saxon Film Festival, the focus is on the filmmakers. So you don't necessarily need to project the jury. There are two systems of filmmaking here. There's the Anglo-Saxon system of filmmaking, and then there's a Francophone system of filmmaking. Within the Francophone system of filmmaking, the position of a producer is seen more as a distributor. But within the anglophone system of filmmaking, there's a producer, there's an executive producer, there's a line producer, there's an associate producer. You understand? Then the director is there, and everybody knows his function. But like, for example, if you go to FESPACO, and the movie is winning an award, it's the director of the film who comes to take that prize and takes the money that comes with it. But it's not the same thing with Sundance. It's not the same thing with the Oscars. It's not the same thing with even the music sector, which you have the Grammy. But the Francophone system is different. Same like when you come to the music sector, you have droit d'auteur and you have copyright. If you do a direct translation, it might seem like the same thing. It's not the same thing. You understand? So that's why you see that in Cameroon today, it's after we started CAMIF that we're able to bring Netflix to Cameroon. We're able to bring Amazon to Cameroon. With the help of the Prime Minister, Chief Joseph Diongute, we're able to break that chain of expressing ourselves to Netflix that Cameroon is a bicultural and a bijural system whereby we can benefit from the Anglo-Saxon platform, just like the Francophones can benefit from Canal Horizon, TV5 and TV Plus. And Ekrangwa is doing a good job to bring those content buyers from the Francophone side. We are also doing our own part to bring the content buyers from the Anglophone side. So we will not abandon the social cultural identity of the Anglophone people for no reason.
Okay, I'll be coming back to you. Emmanuel, you've listened to the CEO of CAMIF, Gilbert. I'm sure that many will say his views are the same like yours as far as this topic is concerned.
Sure, and I'm very happy. I'm meeting him for the first time, and it's getting really excited. You know, the identity of a people cannot be taken away with a gun. Even the largest or the sharpest gun cannot take away the identity of somebody. You can threaten the identity for as long as you want, but you cannot take it. What you can do is that you can suppress the existence of that identity, but you cannot stop it. So I'm very sorry to say that Cameroon, like I've always said, we need an overhaul of the government in place so that the real Cameroon can be remade. Because it is disheartening and sickening to know that in every modern country in the world, we have two factors that unite even enemies. We have music, we have football. Film acting can only be coming at the second stage. Because one, music, which is food for the soul, gladdens even the soul of a devil. Now, you have football. Sometimes you discover that the Lions are playing and they score a goal. Even the Amber Boys, they drop their guns in the bushes to jump, to clap, despite the fact that they're angry.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm very sure about it. And the worst one is that in Cameroon, if you look at these two sectors, none of them is working. I'll come back to the identity question you asked. The other day, I was shocked. I was flabbergasted. When watching over a television, I saw musicians being barred by gendarmes because one faction was going to fight another because of what he just mentioned a while ago. Droit d'auteur, embezzlement. I know that it is our own brother who is at the helm, Ate Bazor. So it caught my interest. Now, coming back to football, if we discover the way our football has been managed in Cameroon for so long a time, because it forms part of culture.
Yes, entertainment.
Sports is part, yes, entertainment.
Of course.
You discover that Cameroonians who could die in the years in the name of lions, lions were winning in the years, not the lions who were playing in the field, but the lions who were watching back home. That spirit exonerated every Cameroonian, and of course, the result was victory, victory, victory. When things started falling apart in that sector, we discovered that it was losing. And even we are winning today, it's a limping winning. We are winning that kind of winning like a horse succeeding to pass through the needle of an eye. Which, of course, it is not pleasant to Cameroonians. Coming back to the identity of a people, if we want to find out if the Cameroon Anglophone entertainers have abandoned the preservation of West Cameroon culture to politicians. No, they have not abandoned it. Politicians have been trying so hard to usurp it, to seize it. Because if they succeed to seize it, they will sell it to Yaoundé to gain more positions in Yaoundé. That is why the entertainers who do not have the mechanisms to fight back the politicians seem to be quiet. They are quiet not because they don't know what is going. They know exactly what is going. They have struggled to speak. But who is listening to them? You know, Cameroon is the only country where a politician is being listened to by the government like a disciple. But the real people who are supposed to be listened to are relegated to the background. The teachers, the entertainers, the reverend men of God. If somebody whom, if we were made to be saints, we could canonize him as a saint, Cardinal Tumi. If his voice was abandoned, was rejected, do you think it will be that of Magasco, who is singing music? Do you think it will be that of Vinora, who is singing music? No. Voices that matter have spoken in this country and has never been taken to account. Because our government went on retirement long ago, but refused to take out their chairs.
Oh, you see retirement. What do you mean? Because we have an active government. Excuse me. What do you mean? We have an active government. We have President Pobia who is there. We have Minister Paula Tanganji who is active and says Cameroon is state of law.
All the time. Anyway, look, when I say retirement, I mean that I can go on retirement and I sit behind the stage to give you advice. These ones have done the two. They are where they were supposed to give advice, and they are still occupying the chair that the active people were supposed to be there. And so nothing practical is working. So these entertainment industries, they are doing their best. But there's another thing we have to look at, Tah Mai Jarvis. When we talk about this thing, culture, it is so broad. It is very broad. And I think one of the reasons why some people in some parts, in another part of this country would not like that the anglophone entertainment country should really blossom is because our content is so rich. This one, we must say it without any fear of favor. The content of the anglophone culture in every aspect of life is so rich and so should be protected jealously. And that is where they are failing. Because if it was well protected, projected to the world, it could as well sell the image of Cameroon right even to the White House. Because look at my brother's song, Derick. If he enters US today, nobody will spend a second to know where he comes from. They will know that he comes from Cameroon and precisely from the Northwest. Those are the things that our government, those are the areas that our government have been failing. They have been failing to do the right things and they have been doing the wrong things that have been sinking Cameroon deep inside the sea.
Okay.
So we cannot hang on the necks of the entertainers. They are doing their best. But the politicians are also doing their utmost best to seize.
So you are blaming more of the politicians?
Yes, because yes, we are blaming them. We have parliamentarians from Northwest and Southwest. Tell me a day that a parliamentarian rose in the National House of Assembly and spoke about the entertainment industry in Cameroon, or asked a question pertaining to this sector.
But maybe they have been supporting.
We just even
maybe
saw
they have
been
been supporting entertainers privately.
No. When you are a public, look. When you are a public figure, you do things publicly. He is an entertainer. We know him because we have been seeing him publicly.
And a promoter.
A promoter. We have been seeing him publicly. He has been. We have seen his films. We have seen him act. We have seen him directed. Okay. You cannot ask. You cannot tell me that somebody who is supposed to be the mouthpiece of the people speaks off camera to the people and on camera speaks for Yaoundé. No, it doesn't work like that. We saw how the National Assembly ended in Friday. Nothing was said. And just passively to say that once more, National Assembly, we are, I said last time that we were 98% disappointed. I say today we are 100% disappointed. You people are almost stenciled your name into the blacklist of Cameroonians. That you are not.
How do you say disappointed?
Look, listen.
The people in Yaoundé,
the last time I was on your platform was
who are celebrating their achievement.
Let me learn that. The last time I was on your platform, I was with a honorable man of parliament.
Honorable Kumasi of
I was reminding him that you feel. Make sure that this time you have at least 2 blue pens in your report card, but the red pen increased. Because why? We had rumors.
Sure he's watching us.
Yes,
he's watching
I
us
know.
Today.
He's my friend. We had rumors of the VP post at the National Assembly. It has finally ended, and all ended as a rumor. So that's why I'm saying that once more, they have confirmed.
The mobile money too started as a rumor. Now maybe the bill was passed and we have not been told.
No, mobile money directly affects their bank account.
Song Derick, your view on this? He says the entertainers have not abandoned. The same thing with the CEO, that they've not abandoned, but that he is blaming, the woman is blaming the politicians. But when you watch on your TV screen the movies that you watch, do you see that aspect of preserving the culture, that your child may come up in the next 10 to 15 years to watch this video and say, hey, this is how our parents used to dress based on the movie I've watched? Because I wrote religious studies in advanced level, and thanks to a movie, I understood Buddhism answers some few questions.
Thank you very much, Jarvis. The issue that we are discussing much about culture today is because of what has happened in Cameroon. It's because of the issue of this crisis that has opened up a lot of things and has shown to the world that Cameroon is bijural, it is bicultural, it should be bicamera. And because of this, a lot of people are coming to their senses, because you realize that one part of the country is trying to swallow the other. This confession was made right in Paris when the President of the Republic went to give his report card, as usual, to present it to the colonial master of Cameroon. He gave us the report card that we are two, but we have been struggling to swallow the other people, but they are like a bone on the neck. They have refused to be swallowed. And if I have to say something, Jarvis, I would say that where we are with this crisis, with this fighting here and there, the solution was proposed. The best solution that I could say came from this crisis was from the church. You know, when this crisis started, the Catholic Church wrote an 18-letter, in-depth, 18-page in-depth document and sent to Yaoundé. And in that letter, everything about Cameroon was dissected. Everything was underlined. And the bishops made clear that Cameroon is bicultural, it is bijura, and it should be bicamera. But Yaoundé, I'm sure that piece of paper should be in the dust bin now. I had thought that if they had listened, that's when the church was so much involved in this thing, because they wanted that lives should be saved. Because, you know, the human life is sacred. And no one has right to take away another person's life. Because the day you take someone's life away, that's the day your own life should cease existing. But unfortunately, it's become like more fun. Gone are the days when we used to see corpses and then we cry, we weep, we mourn. But today you are running in Bamenda, you are running and you see a corpse there. It doesn't, somebody dies. The other day I was in Bamenda, someone is dead beside the food market and traders are there selling. It doesn't move anybody.
They have adapted to the cruelty.
Yes, that is how bad it has become. And when I see all this, I recall the book of, may he so rest in peace, John Kengan song, in his book Across the Mongolo, where he pictures all these things. In that book, he pictures the situation that is happening. I can say he was like a prophet.
Foresaw.
He foresaw what was to happen, and he wrote in the book where he saw that the southern Cameroonian people have undergone a litany of colonization, from the Germans to the French to the British to Nigeria, and now they have become a colony within a colony. Southern Cameroon has been been swallowed up by another colony from France.
When you say swallowed up by another colony from France, many historians will argue that there was the unanimous agreement for Aiju to end referendum coming from Cameroon, Anglophone elite themselves, and that it was a legitimate process. But what do you mean by colony?
Cameroon is the only country where what is illegitimate is legitimate, and what is legitimate is illegitimate. Cameroon is not a normal country. You should not hear that from me. If Cameroon were a normal country, you should be telling me that. But it's not one. So from where I ended, Jarvis, when you are talking about the president, do you know that a true secessionist in Cameroon is Yaoundé? And the real secessionists in Cameroon are staying in Yaoundé.
What do you mean? Because we had a Grand Major National Dialogue from Yaoundé, and they were talking about Vivian and Sam living together, and also the Yaoundé says we are now in accelerated decentralization.
What is living together should not be forced. I think you should not be forced to live together. You should happily live together. Living together should not be a slogan. It should be seen. It should be practical. And like I was saying, when I'm telling you that Cameroon, one part of the country has swallowed the other, and we are struggling to come out. I'm saying it from the words of the president who said it in Paris,
Mo Ibrahim,
in front of Mo Ibrahim, that we were struggling to swallow that 20%, but we realized that the 20%.
No, you are calling it 20%. He said on avait la possibilité de l'intégrer.
Oui,
yes.
That's the French system, Jarvis. So I will say it clearly that the real secessionists are in Yaoundé.
You take responsibility.
For my words, honorably. So the real secessionists we have in this country are in Yaoundé. And I want to think that what is happening in this country, a lot of people are enjoying the goodies. There is a third party somewhere who has become rich because of this crisis. And because the riches are flowing every other day, they don't want it to end. People who said there is no crisis, there is no cultural crisis or Anglophone war, they are eating fat. I remember one of the ministers who said that there was no problem. He was the one distributing things for people who have a problem, whereas he had refused.
When you say minister, which minister?
The minister at Tanganji. I think we should not hide the name of a person we know so much.
Okay.
He was the one distributing matrices of a problem he said did not exist. So, when I go back to the book of John Kemba, when he said, we have undergone a lot of annexation and our culture is being swallowed. See, you know, Jarvis, when you are married, you are called Mr. and Mrs. Right? In an occasion, they invite you as Mr. and Mrs. Once the husband starts telling you that, please, if you want to call my family, call it Mr. Song. Don't call me Mr. and Mrs. Song. There's something he's hiding. He's surely wanting to go for side chicks. Yes. So there's a problem of side chickism. In Kenga Song's book, and if you read even Epiengome's book of what God has put asunder, Epiengome dissects what is happening. Her beautiful Rose is given married to Atangana. Atangana marries Rose because of the beautiful farm that his father died and left for Rose. And then he takes the money and spends it with prostitutes in France. That is what is happening in Cameroon. All the riches of southern Cameroon has been swallowed up by French Cameroon, and they are spending that money through payment of tithes to France. That is what is happening. Where is power come? Where is Cameroon Bank? Where are all the riches that southern Cameroon? Where is Fonade? Where is Minido? Those are all the riches that Cameroon had. You know that, Jarvis, you know that southern Cameroon had as a culture to build their own things. That's why you had PWD. You have PWD Bamenda, you have PWD Kumba. Where it meant that when a road is bad in Kumba, you don't need to write to Yaoundé that there is a problem with the road. They just take care of it. When a road is bad in Yaoundé, you don't need to write to Yaoundé. But everything has been engulfed by Yaoundé. And that is why our culture has been swallowed and the country has been reduced to a systemic problem with a virus called the high instruction from the head of state.
Thank you. I take on some few messages and participation. Where was this guy since 2016? This guy can speak into the people's conscience. I'm talking about Gilbert. Thank you very much. And that comes from Dikum. This one, Fondon Richard says, Mr. Jarvis always try to hide your stupidity and garment when handling such program on high magnitude. Fondon Richard, I need to ask the question as it is, and you will not teach me the canons of journalism. And you can stay within the confine of commenting, and the time you become a journalist, you understand why I'm asking these questions for the guest to elaborate more. This one, it says, well-articulated comrade Dick Doom, after missing the first penalty, you came back more powerfully. Keep up. And see it come from Fondong. This one says, my media prime is my TV, watching the program awesome. Greetings to you guys in the studio, especially Mr. Emmanuel, and also greetings, brother Gilbert. Thank you for the long truth. Just the voice is out. Also, that is coming from Eno Edwin, and this SMS read says, happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. I must acknowledge that people like Gilbert is needed in this country for this country to move on. We need people that speak their truth as it is, and not those who speak with water in their mouth. Jarvis, thank you for this program. Thank you very much. We'll be taking the messages. All those who have sent us messages, we'll read them. Mr. Gilbert, let me come to you. We watch in Nigeria the NSAS movement. The NSAS movement, the entertainers, the movie, the comedy industry, the music industry, promoters are last you, because many, and of course it will not be a sin to say you are a godfather of the entertainment industry, because you put your money, resources on the line to promote young talent, even whether they acknowledge or they don't acknowledge, you are still doing your job. NSAS movement, these people play a great role in advocating. Anglophone crisis, 5 years on, the culture, are we not worried as entertainers that there is need to come up, maybe as a group of entertainers, to go to the Prime Minister and say, hey, our dear Prime Minister, our shows can no longer hold in Bamenda and Boya, our shows cannot hold in Manfe because of the conflict, our events cannot hold in Kumbo, Jakiri. What are you people doing to enable that peace come? That oneness of the Anglophone entertainers. What's happening?
Well, Mr. Jarvis, you know, you can compare Nigeria with Cameroon, just like you can compare Hong Kong and Cameroon, okay? The people of Hong Kong rose up to say no to a particular law that was enacted in the mainland China, and they rose up. The artists, they stood up with the people, the journalists. Nigeria, the artists, they stood up to defend the rights of the young people in Nigeria who were being harassed by the police, a group of the police that they call the SAS.
The special anti-robbery, something like that.
So imagine that somebody will harass you to an extent of taking you to your ATM for you to withdraw money and give them in the name of a police officer. But you come today in Boya, similar cases are being heard on the street where young people are being harassed to even remove money from their mobile money and give. They just harass you, arrest you, and then they take you to somewhere and you come and pay money for you to be released. Okay? Now, if Cameroonians because if you are talking Cameroonians of the Anglo-Saxon background, for them to come up in a collective manner to say it's enough. You're dealing with a system that is numb to violence, is numb to using excess force, is numb to taking life. Okay? So everybody might be very, very conscious, and everybody might be scared. You can't blame them. They are different environments. I will categorically tell you that the NSAS movement in Nigeria did not only end in Lagos. It was in Calabar, it was in Enugu, but you didn't hear, apart from Lagos, shooting in any other states. But in Cameroon, the moment you come out, there's somebody who is going to be trigger hungry to shoot. And in our communities today, they shoot people and kill people and tag them amber. Amber shoot you and kill you and tag you black leg. So the both sides of these conflicts who are having guns have made us victims of circumstances, victims of pain, frustration, and even death in our own communities. No Southern Cameroonian today in the Northwest and Southwest is safe. No one. Neither in the hands of the state forces or in the hands of the Amber. Because you might just walk on the street and there's a bullet that's coming from where you don't know and you get killed. Coming back to the artists, the entertainment sector in Cameroon has been attacked over the years by the state. The entertainment industry in Cameroon has no power, no strength, because the state has not done its part to actually encourage the entertainment industry. For example, when I started doing films in 2005, I did the first film in Cameroon to bring peace between Cameroon and Nigeria. I brought actors from Nigeria and I brought actors from Cameroon. We did Before the Sunrise.
Yes.
At that time,
yes,
Cameroon was fighting a war on Bakassi Peninsula. But I took to myself, I said, how do I encourage peace? My mom is Cross-Riverian. My father is Cameroonian. I'm a child of these two nations.
The border town.
Yes, so how do I contribute to peace? I did that movie. Later on, I was invited to Aso Rock by President Obasanjo. I met Mr. Joe Musa. I was actually appreciated for what I did as a filmmaker. Later on, President Paul Biya gave me a medal in 2018. Now, when you look at my journey, I have been consistent in trying to preach peace. During the Boko Haram crisis, I went to the far north. I went to Kusiri, I went to Mora, I went to Gide. I visited those communities as a Cameroonian. And today, I have been to communities that are heavily affected. So if there's anybody who will tell you exactly what is happening on ground, I think I'm one of those people. I've been to Ajaso, I've been to Amana, I've been to Ogoja refugee camp. I've seen people suffering. I've seen children as young as 14 prostituting themselves just for food. And I've come back with those information to the highest authority in this country. We need to end this crisis. We need to end this war. We need to engage in an inclusive dialogue. A dialogue that will comprise of two people, the people of Southern Cameroon and the people of La République du Cameroon. Let them come to an agreement of how we are going to move forward. You cannot tell me that you refuse that there's no problem. You diagnose the problem on your own strength that there's no problem. You come up with a resolution on your own strength that there was no problem, and then you pose the cure, the solution to a problem that you say there's no problem. So now, if I should go back to the drawing board or to the history of this country, why was the federal state annulled? Why? Why was it tampered with after the federal constitution says that on no circumstances should this form of the state be changed? Why was it annulled? I just posed a case of it was too expensive to manage. So we had two national assemblies, one in La République du Cameroon, one in the Southern Cameroon. We had the House of Chiefs and all of that. But today, ironically, we have four of those structures. We have the regional house in the northwest. We have the regional house in the southwest. We have the House of Chiefs in the southwest. You have the House of Chiefs. Then plus we have the National Assembly. So and the Senate. So we have 6. So which one was cheaper? Was it the federal system or the current system that they are trying to?
And we still have the municipal mayors. Now we have the city mayors.
The city mayor and the government delegate, there's nothing different. They just change the title. There's nothing different. It's the same thing. So, and then they come now, they add another one, the regional consulator.
Independent consulator.
Independent consulator. So at the end of the day, we are still beating around
but
the
bush. Government says it's accelerated decentralization.
We are still beating around the bush. The problem was never living together. The problem was never who is the president of House of Chief of this. The problem was the marginalization of people, economically, institutionally, and even culturally. Explain to me why we come into this union with La République du Cameroon. There was an international airport in Tico.
And also there was an airport
there was a deep sea port. There was a deep sea port in Tico. There was a John Hall maritime port in Manfi. There was the Bisongabang Airport, where is the most safe landing position in the whole of Africa. And that's where the British were doing their skydiving in Bisongabang, the longest runway, it starts from Bisongabang to Okoyo, is there. Explain to me how Prince Charles comes to Cameroon, goes to Bamenda, and encourage the construction of the Yoke Dam, of the Menchum Fall. It did not happen. Explain to me why we don't have a Limbe deep sea port, a project that was initiated back in the days by Fonjindam. And today, we have a Kribi deep sea port. So if you look at it, economically, we have been choked. Culturally, we have been choked. Because choked
by who?
We have been choked by the highly francophonized system. And I will explain to you. When I started fighting for Cameroonian films to be on Netflix, formerly, you remember when you sign on Netflix, they tell you are on the wrong geographical position. I fought until they opened that space. Same like Amazon. Today, Okapak and the other francophone groups which are protecting the copyright laws are still fighting this organization to say, hey, look, you need to be paying the royalties back to us. But no. And unfortunately, at the same time, my Anglophone brothers are also very lazy because we need to create a copyright law for the Anglophone people. The Anglophone copyright law is protected by Commonwealth and the civil law. Francophonie protects droit d'auteur and also by the civil law. But sometimes you see it, and when you listen to some of the people in Yaoundé, like the Ate Bazos, you just take a deep breath and you say, okay, I don't even understand where these guys are going. Because there's no way forward. So the problem still boils down by us who are handling certain positions, who are comfortable in those positions, and because of whatever benefits we are getting in those positions, we don't want to do the right thing. You're complaining today about the economic choked by the central system in Yaoundé. Who are the people who are actually selling off all the lands of CDC today? They are the Anglophones. They are the people of Southern Cameroon who are today, a new chief is being created in Fako every hour of the day. And when you create that chiefdom, the next thing is that they sell all the land. CDC is gradually fading away. With the atrocities that the Ambas have committed on the people working on those plantations, Pamol, CDC, we are gradually also pushing ourselves to a dependent state. In the next 10 years, if this crisis persists, everything we want is going to be coming from La République de Cameroon side. And the frustration is going to continue mounting from Southern Cameroon.
When you say La République de Cameroon side, what do you mean? Because
I am talking about...
point is, we say that Cameroon is one and indivisible.
Yes, Cameroon is one and indivisible on a common scale. Cameroon is one and indivisible. I'm a citizen of Cameroon. I pride myself as a citizen of Cameroon, okay? I go around and I do things for Cameroon. I am not an Ambazonian. I don't align myself with an Ambazonian, okay? I don't even understand what they try to do. Until I understand what they try to do, then maybe I will even try to listen to what they are trying to do. But as of now, I don't understand what they are trying to do. But my grandfather made me to understand that he was the director of marketing board in Limbe as a Southern Cameroonian. He was not as La République du Cameroonian. So I go by that.
And not as an Ambazonian.
My grandfather was never an Ambazonian.
Yeah, I'm not as an Ambazonian, but the Southern Cameroonian.
I don't even know what's an Ambazonian, Mr. Jarvis.
I heard it too from.
So don't believe everything you see on social media. If a group of people come on social media and start ranting and calling themselves Ambazonia, and you pay attention to that, then they say when Christmas pick your clothes, you run. Don't follow the mad person. Okay? If Ambazonia had a clear agenda, we would be listening. But as of now, they have not presented us any clear agenda. But what is there is that there was a time His Royal Majesty Chief Von Mukete stood up in the assembly and spoke and reminded the government of the wrongs that has happened to the people of Southern Cameroon. There was a time Honorable Weber stood up and spoke and reminded the government of the wrongs that have been done to the people of Southern Cameroon. This is not me. This is things that we've seen. There was a time Agbobala stood up and spoke and advocated the rights of the people of Southern Cameroon. There was a time Kadnatumi, in his holiness, stood up and spoke. There was a time Elise Smith, there was a time Ayapo stood up and spoke. There was a time Fongalafo stood up and spoke, and there was a time somebody accepted that there is an Anglophone problem, and that is the head of state.
In Paris?
And if the father of the nation says that there is a problem in my house and I need a solution, and he came out and said every good willing Cameroonian should help him to resolve this problem. That's the president speaking. So whatever is happening here, a group of people now have taken advantage of the crisis. They are positioning themselves. They are milking the state. They are causing havoc in the communities. They are kidnapping people. They are raping people's women. They are stealing people's farm. We don't want a community where somebody will walk into your house with a gun in the name of I'm a general this and take over whatever you own. We don't want that community. We don't also want a community where somebody will just stop in a car and say, Monte, whether you have identity card, you don't have identity card, they carry you to somewhere, you don't even know, your family don't know where you're going. We want a country of law. We want a country of respect for humanity. Without the citizens of this country, there's no country. So you cannot be treating the citizens as if we are properties or we are trash to actually propel your political agenda. We are Cameroonians, yes, but we should be Cameroonians in honesty and truth. Two people came together in 1961. The frontier said, we are going to unite. Ayijo said, we are going to reunite. There are two different meanings. Did the people of Southern Cameroon join La République du Cameroon to become a property of La République du Cameroon? That question needs to be answered. And that question is not being asked by people who are carrying guns. That question is being asked by every right-thinking Southern Cameroonian who has no benefits or who has no political aspiration and who is not aiming for any political office in Yaoundé. If I grew up in Tiko, I heard Mola and no, not Mola Jolly Tumbe, Jipoko.
Yes.
Constantly remind us that the people of La République du Cameroon have actually abused every agreement reached, or in the process of reaching an agreement between La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. So the process, which we by consider as an experiment, has not gone to its logical end. One person is trying to use force to impose his will upon a civilized people. It might take forever till maybe our own breath goes off. But the people who are going to breathe after us are still going to ask for that accountability. What is it that we agreed on in Fumban? Come and sit. Because I keep saying this thing and I've said it again. If you succeed to kill all the Amber boys, have you addressed the anglophone problem?
Ministers will say yes.
Okay. If that was the case, gas all them. Gas all them. Because for me, I have been in communities where by the time you listen to people talk, you ask yourself, how did we Cameroonians find ourselves in this position? Because also, I have seen statesmen like General Melingi. I have seen statesmen like the current, our governor in the Southwest, who started in a high tone, but today is a father to a community which he jealously protects. There is no time they call the governor today that something has happened in Manfi, in Akwa, you will not see him trying to make calls, trying to stand up. Because first, he has come to realize that this is a community where people believe in communing, in communication, in dialogue. Not the community that is coming from the other side where if you can't je parle, tu ne parles pas. So at the end of the day, Mr. Jarvis, I am still on my mission for advocating for peace.
Okay.
I have been beaten in a Umojok by a gendarme officer, same like I have been brutalized by an Amber fighter. So none of these two parties
are friends.
Are friends. So I am saying that as a Cameroonian, a logical Cameroonian who do not believe in violence, who do not have any greedy agenda to become a parliamentarian or a minister or anything in future, we need to sit to resolve this problem. If we don't resolve this problem, Cameroon will continue to go down, and every year that we want to organize a nation cup, we will deploy militaries to stand along the road from Mongo to Limbe. That's not how they celebrate nation cup in other countries. That's not how we went to Ghana, we saw it.
Okay.
And that's not how we went to Nigeria, we saw it. So they should stop this war because it's useless, it's uncalled for. And do not forget that as the Ambas are making money off this crisis, so as the state people are also making money off this crisis. And one person is being robbed to the mud, is the president. Unfortunately, he cannot come to the ground to see things for himself. But what is supposed to happen will happen. These two people, La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, will sit on a negotiation table. I might not be alive to see it.
They start now.
The national dialogue was a collective. The national dialogue was a collective effort to deliberate among Cameroonians. It was not a specific negotiation between La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon.
Briefly, let me come to the briefly. You said they should discuss with who? The government have been asking that. We have the government says we have Akwanga, we have Sako, we now have Chris Anu on his own faction. We now have a lot of people in their factions. We have the Patriot like Agbobala who are from a non-violent perspective. We have people like Diwum and some who are calling for a non-violent perspective. Who do the government say dialogue with? And Mr. Paul Atanga, you have asked, like, who do we dialogue with?
First, you did not know who to dialogue with, but you traveled to Nigeria to arrest a group of people. Right? No problem. You did not know who to dialogue with, but you arrest the Naira 10 and lock them up and charge them for terrorism. You did not know who to dialogue with, but you arrest Fontaine Niba and Agbobala and put them in prison with Aya Paul and charge them with terrorism. Who are you fooling? If they say they should dialogue today, first, Kanatumi laid down the foundation. And that man is the most holy human being I have seen on this planet Earth. Whether the Cameroon government or the Amba, they like it or not, the Kanatumi's process will come to realization. The people of Southern Cameroon will sit. Because me, I know they support Ayabacho or I know they support Ayoktabe. I'm a Southern Cameroonian, I know be Amba. That's number one. When Kanatumi said that people of Southern Cameroon should sit, I did not mandate Joshua Osi to speak on my behalf at the National Dialogue. He's a parliamentarian from my area, right? I did not mandate Ayoktabe to go on and violate the laws and encourage armed insurgency on my behalf. But I'm saying that Ayoktabe, like Joshua Osi, we need to come sit on a table and agree on what we are going to meet La République du Cameroon to talk about.
Okay. Thank you very much. You wanted to react.
Yes, I wanted to come in on the point. I think he has made it sufficiently clear. If I were coming in, I were to come in to say that patriotism also holds it that as a patriotic citizen, you should be able to know the history of your country, not only because you're a history teacher, you should be able to know the happenings of your country, and I'm happy that he's one. You see, the strategy that La République took to put us apart was using you and I.
What is La République? What do you mean?
He has sufficiently explained that, Tah Mai. Well, we don't have enough time now. Was that because you are not making as if you don't know, whereas you know it too well.
I don't know.
We know that two people came together, Southern Cameroon and La République, and to make it worse, I will never support anybody who tells me that the ministers are failing Mr. Biya. I think Mr. Biya is the one failing the entire Cameroon. He has the yam, he has the knife. He has refused to use the knife to cut the right part of the yam. And I explain. Where on earth would you, as the father of the house, hear that two of your children are fighting? Instead of you to call them to order, talk to them in the open, you send the one that has the larger size, the whip, to go down on the one that has the smaller size with a whip. It is true that the one with the larger size may succumb, but the pent-up anger, it will keep developing, and it can explode at any time in any form. The anger of Southern Cameroonians has been for a very long time. because they used a strategy to marginalize Southern Cameroonians. And that is when they succeeded in killing our culture through marginalization. May I remind you that in this country we have a Ministry of Culture that I, for one, I don't know what it really saves Cameroonians for.
It's a compensation plan.
Because these things we are discussing here now are things that if that ministry were not under a spell called instructions from the on the head of state.
Old institution.
Yes. That ministry alone could be able to handle this topic you are talking today without anybody hearing it inside. They are capable of calling about Gilbert. They call the other people from east of the Mongo. They sit in that ministry. They come out with a draft that will respect the identity of each person. Those of the French who are interested in crossing over to do acting with Abo Gilbert because they have learned their English, they can adapt, they do it. There will be no problem. But see, we deal in a country where anything is done for political interest and with an eye to gain a position somewhere. Honesty has disappeared. Truth has lost its value. Lies telling has gained eminence. Everybody tries to lie as much as possible to be compensated. Still in this vein, when I keep hearing about national dialogue, it pains me. I told you that it gives me gastritis each time I hear this thing. That monologue that took place in Yaoundé had that monologue. It had no clue. It had no relationship with what is happening in Northwest and Southwest.
When you say no relationship,
It
said they talked about some issues.
No, he said it. Maybe you did not hear well. It was a general assembly to talk about the issues affecting Cameroon in general. It was not specific, but we are talking about a specific illness here.
Social status came out from the major national dialogue now.
There you go again. Let me tell you that before the monologue, the religious bodies in this country were asked to submit their proposition. Parties were asked. Civil society were asked. And I want to tell you in all honesty that there is none of these groups that propose special status. So Yaoundé is the only regime in the world that manufactures problems and then try to manufacture cosmetic solutions that never ends up solving the problem. So we keep pampering our problems. Along the line, we turn around, we pretend to giving solutions. If not, what has happened to those people who said there were no anglophone problem and they have been promoted? Do you know that there are ministers in Yaoundé who are not supposed to be working free today because they have promoted the anglophone crisis? Because there were some utterances that were supposed to be made. They were made and they were compensated. That is why you see the change till today. People keep lying and lying and lying. You have commissions upon commission. Okay, we are talking about national dialogue. I put it in quote. The Nsungkikang commission that went to Bamenda and Southwest tabled recommendations in Yaoundé from the people that the people have said, we want a return to the Federal Republic of Cameroon. I am not the one saying it now. It was made open.
But the people,
what did Yaoundé do with those recommendations?
And the people of Southwest, based on what Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai presented to the Prime Minister, said the people of Southwest want accelerated decentralization. I'm talking about based on what Governor Bernard Okala-Bilai and the delegation
who mandated Bernard Okala-Bilai to speak for the people.
I'm just saying that
the only good thing nowadays is that he has changed from father of dogs to know that he's father of people. So he cannot talk for those people. He cannot come here and tell us that people want this accelerated decentralization. Look, the only thing that has been accelerated in this country is more embezzlement, more corruption, more thievery. Apart from this area where there is acceleration, there is no other acceleration in Cameroon. So you cannot come here and tell me that decentralization. Okay, there has been decentralization. Why are the mayors still crying? Why are the House of Chiefs still crying? You know the one who stood in Southwest and cried loud that everything came in French, and that computers came in French, everything was in French, and that they had no money, no funds for programs. So, Tah Mai Jarvis, I think this problem in Northwest is not more than Yaoundé to solve. It's about bad faith. Northwest and Southwest. It's not more than Yaoundé to be solved. It's about bad faith. If they decide now that we are talking this platform to do the right thing. Northwest and Southwest people have always been law-abiding citizens, bona fide citizens. Okay. Peace-loving people. They don't want war. War on us is imposed by Yaoundé.
Thank you.
We are not the one.
I know we have some few, so we still have time, and there's a rift between the Northwest and Southwest within itself that we cannot refuse. I'm sure I will be Gilbert.
No, that one is a joke. That one is a joke. And that one is a ploy by politicians to play the divide role caused by Yaoundé.
Hello, Jarvis, happy Sunday to you, panelists. Panelists, in details, you see the mismanagement of our country. How come such a divine brain from Cameroon is invited by a foreign president? In our own president later sent a medal to that person. Last but not the least, an outspoken senator in the name of Vice Akeba killed and his speeches till date not considered. Remember the detail that you see. This current government doesn't want to solve the anglophone crisis. Marks from Germany, a panelist on the Group House of Commons. Good afternoon to you on the studio. I appreciate the filmmaker for elaborating on this topic. Today, we Southern Cameroonians are the problem of some of the problems we are having today. Because of this, we cannot respect our culture as well. We are killing our brothers and sisters. Peter Atem, fearless socialist writing from China. This other read, it says, hello, greetings to you all. I am Amin Dum from Kumba. I'm 84 years old. I am in line with the handsome boy putting on the Bamenda attire. We had our marketing board. We had our airport in Tico. We had our Waza. We had our light in Yoke. And we were fixing umbrella and chang shoes. You can never force a human being to stay with another. That is why there is divorce in marriage. We cannot live with... Thank you very much. I just had to end that, Mrs. Emmanuel. I hope you understand. Cameroon is the state of law. Good afternoon, House of Commons. Please, you people have to take this police harassment of young men, of young people in the Southwest and Northwest serious. They even reach a point when they threaten you to be called Amber if you resist them. If you resist them, this is John. This other read, it says, happy Sunday to you, Mr. Gilbert. God bless you so much and protect you. You see why we say Cameroon is not an effective country. If you can be invited in places like that and you are seen by the president, and in our own case, high instruction medal is sent to you. You see why we need to stop this high instruction issue. Thank you very much. Their messages are so many. Song Derick. We saw anglophone entertainers, Magasco and the rest, when it came to back to school, they had school uniforms, championing an effective back to school, but we have not seen that same force about the anglophone crisis coming to an end of the crisis. Immediately after that campaign, that was all. Nobody saw anything again.
And the next question of where did they champion that back to school campaign? It was in the French regions of the country.
Maybe they were afraid of
what?
Voices in the
houses. Jarvis, I think, yes, we saw them champion the back to school campaign. You know, I have never been against school. I've never been against return to school. I've always talked to the consciences of the parents. You send your child to school, which one do you prefer? Because if every child needs to be educated, and if the environment is safe for your child to go to school, send a child to school. Because we have sent children to school where some people voluntarily left their children out of school because they prefer illiterate children who can give them water than educated corpses. Some people voluntarily decided that. We saw the Cameroon entertaining, and especially the Anglophones. We saw the Magasco on school uniform, but we saw them in Douala. We saw them in Yaoundé. They never went down to the field because the field is not safe. But unfortunately, Jarvis, you realize that those people in Yaoundé had told us, someone said it, I quote, President Biya has won the war. It is remaining just some few pocket resistance here and there, and we are going to crush them in no distant
Maybe
time.
he was talking from a perspective of Viva and Sam, that he has won the war, bringing people together.
Jarvis, that was a provocation. Your people cannot be dying and you tell people that you have won a war. It was spelled out that a war has been won. A war between who and who? Who was fighting who? You know that this segregation I'm telling you that is coming from Yaoundé. The separation of this country is further worsened by Yaoundé. And it makes a lot of people, some of us have read books. I'm talking about reading literature books. But someone who studied accounting, but I went in to read literature books because I needed to find out what was the problem. Before I discovered the Epiengome's book of what God has put asunder. Have you realized that what God has put asunder, let no man join together?
Maybe God
or
has
what
put
is
asunder
happening?
Disunity now.
Perhaps that is what is happening, and you're forcing it. So, Jarvis, see, there's a topic. There's a topic we are talking here that it nerves any normal human being. When was the national dialogue heard? The national monologue, so to say. When was it held? It was in 2018. That should be 2019, October or so.
September 30th.
What was the reason for the national monologue? The reason was to solve
dialogue.
A problem. Yes, the reason was to solve a problem that had never existed. When you give a perfect solution to a problem you do not know. See, in marketing, basic marketing in school tells us that how do you solve a problem? You solve a problem by identifying the problem. Once you do not identify that a problem exists, no matter how perfect you have as a solution, you will never have it. That meeting, that gathering where billions of CFA were spent to pay hotel bills for people. And pay some people to accept what never will be.
They even bribe some
then
for us to leave.
That meeting was held to solve this problem, Mr. Jarvis. Jarvis, I'm asking you the question. From 2019 to 2022, guns are still smoking in the streets. People are still dying. I don't know. When did the man called No Pity kill people? Was it after the national dialogue or before the national dialogue? I'm sure it was after the national dialogue. What happened? That people were still dying. The child who died in Boya from the bullets of the person who was sent to protect that child. The
what of the phone of Bambalang that has been kidnapped by his own people?
Jarvis, I will come to that part, which is very, I'm very angry about that, very sad about that. It was after the national dialogue. And then to the so-called Amber Boys. Jarvis, there is no debate. When this revolution started, people addressed them as our boys. Yes, they were addressed as our boys. But today, people address them as those boys. They should ask themselves a question. What went wrong between our boys and those boys? Why are people trying to dissociate from them? Because something has gone wrong. You cannot be fighting to protect me. People march in Oku. Yes, that they are tired of something. And then we saw videos of her somewhere arrested, somewhere naked. You naked your own mother. Why do you do that? Instead of trying to prove a point that no, I know that you people are manipulated, we are fighting for your right, you go and you naked them, you kill some. What is it for? Why is it I'm fighting not to die and I'm entering death? So I think with that one, we are very blunt about the fact that a lot of people have been killed. How do you get a chief who is, they said is the president of the House of Chiefs that is like a window decoration? How do you get him and you lock him up? How do you stress? How do you stress somebody that you are meant to protect? That is one thing that we should decry with all level of, all degree, all might, that we should deny Jarvis. But this is it. What is happening in Southern Cameroon? I want to tell you, Jarvis, without missing what the kidnap case is not one-sided. There are people who have turned this crisis into a business. There are people who do not even belong in between. They do kidnapping in order to get their money. I'm telling you that there's a third party somewhere enjoying from the suffering masses. And what is the reason? The reason is simple. What we are facing in Cameroon now is a consequence. We are facing the consequences. And the reason why we are facing these consequences, Jarvis, the reason why we are facing these consequences is because we refused to address the root cause of the problem, and we are running after syndromes and signs and symptoms. And when you start treating signs and symptoms, the real disease develops and becomes used to with the drugs you are giving for the signs, and it becomes worse the second stage.
Thank you very much. We have so many messages here, and there is a very important message from Barrister Achu Julius, and that message is addressed to Gilbert Ebot, and I'm sure that maybe you may want to have time to meet with Barrister Achu one-on-one. I will still give the opportunity on a one-on-one, 1 hour, to clear out some facts. It will be laudable that if you and him will take the challenge. He's watching us right now, and he has sent his message. But before we address his message, I want us to talk briefly about CAMIF, because I know when you address the message, you may not have time to talk about CAMIF. CAMIF is coming, and it has been so consistent. I've attended 2 CAMIF. This year, what are the innovations?
Every year at CAMIF, we focus on training. We focus on social cohesion. We focus on togetherness. We have films that are coming from across the globe. In Cameroon, we have films that are coming from both French Cameroon and from the English-speaking part of Cameroon. And we have facilitators who are going to be there, like Penjo of Penjo Entertainment, who's going to give a master class for the first time on photography, alongside Emily, who's the photographer for UNESCO. We want to also try to encourage, a workshop on how to brand and to brand yourself and to profile yourself. Social media today is a big market where if you do things the right way, you might be able to even use your profile for advertisement for you to be making money. So those are some of the new things that are going to happen. But our standard programs remains that there are going to be master classes. There are going to be parties in the evening. We have our usual cultural night on Wednesdays. We have our mask gala on Thursdays. We have our all-white parties on Fridays, and then we have the closing ceremony on Saturday. So basically, the Cameroon International Film Festival is a platform that brings together a collective mind of creative people to sit and find a solution to the common problem, which is distribution of Cameroonian film. How to properly present the socio-cultural identity of the Cameroonian people to the world at large. Because when I went to the Cannes Film Festival, it was the first time the Cameroons was able to get a pavilion at the Cannes Film Festival. And also at the Sundance Film Festival, you will celebrate the fact that we have films now going to the Oscars, after over 20-something years, when the first film by, I think it's Nsungkikang people, that went for the Oscars, we had The Fisherman's Diary, and we had of recent Hidden Dreams, that was at the Oscars. Unlike other countries like Chad and what happened in Tanzania, the assembly actually sat and voted a budget to accompany Diamond Platinum, who was going to the US to represent the country at the BET. You understand? Same like in Jamaica, the president sat down with the filmmakers who were going to Los Angeles to promote a Chadian film. But it happened in Cameroon. It was no news. It was never even looked into. You understand? The young man, Justin, was there, and we kept pushing. I had to go to the US on my own. Justin could not even get a visa to go to the US. I had to get to the US, try to promote. Because you need to be there to promote your films. They are showing these films in different academic theaters around Los Angeles and in New York. So you have to be there to mobilize a crowd. There's a crowd. Come and watch our film. And
when they do the announcement, they say, film from Cameroon.
Yeah, come and watch our film. So we are taking Cameroon to another level in terms of filmmaking. Today, our films have been looked into with a keen eye by the Americans,
okay,
by the Chinese, by the Koreans, who their industry is fast growing, is growing on a fast pace. So we are looking at possible collaborations for us to get this other industry to come.
I'm sure the days ahead we'll have brief time, maybe next we'll have brief time to talk about a lot of time talk about CAMIF in itself.
You were going to ask me a question from Barrister
Julius. And he says, hello House of Commons, hello House of Commons and co, the panelists. The Prime Minister of this country is an anglophone. He led and presiding the major national dialogue. Do you want to tell us that you are more anglophone than him? Addressing to you, you want the people to sit and talk with the Naira 10, and at the same time you say you will never mandate the Ayok and co. Who on earth will sit and talk on behalf of anglophones? There are anglophones in the army and are fighting Ambers. Do you mean to tell us that the Ambers love anglophone more than the anglophone in the military?
Well, I think that Barrister has his concerns, which like every other right-thinking, logical thinking person has his own concerns, which I don't argue with Barrister. He's a very sound-minded person. But at the same time, when Cardinal Tumi prescribed the need for an all-Anglophone conference, it was geared towards both Cameroonians both people from Southern Cameroon, be it those ones who are in the government and be it those ones who are not in the government, to come and sit and agree first. Among us, the Anglophones or the people of Southern Cameroon, we don't agree. Our objective, there are people who are benefiting from the current structure of the state who are saying there's no Anglophone problem. And no matter what you say, these people will tell you there's no Anglophone problem. And there are people who have actually dabbled to solve the problem using the national dialogue. They will tell you that is the best form to resolving the problem. So Cardinal Tumi's proposal is what I am preaching. The need for the people of Southern Cameroons to come together and sit and talk. Maybe in the delegation of people who are going to speak, Barrister Ashu will be there. Maybe the other Barrister Achu, because there's Ashu and there's Achu, that they come to your panel. And one is from CPDM, one owns his own political party. Yes. Maybe the two will come to represent us, the people of Southern Cameroon, with what we are going to say, okay, these are the problems that we have, and these are the problems that we want to address.
We don't have enough time. We are out of time. The question now is, will you prefer one-on-one with Barrister Achu?
Yes, I would love that. It's not a problem for me.
Okay, Barrister Achu, it has been told to you because there's not enough time to answer his worry. I'm sure he raised a lot of worry.
And Barrister Achu need to come to terms with the fact that every one of us cannot say, I have the solution to this problem. The Prime Minister has done his own part by saying that there should be a national dialogue. Do not forget, when he was pushing for this national dialogue, he constantly made it that it was not easy because a lot of people, including the very Anglophones, were fighting against the national dialogue. And the same Anglophones were the ones, while he was saying that there was going to be a dialogue, we saw them saying that the government will not dialogue. So at the end of the day, the problem I have seen with time, there are more Francophones or there are more Cameroonian of fresh expression who want the resolve of this problem more than Anglophones who are benefiting from the current structure of the state.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to me, Emmanuel.
No, Mr. no.
There's no time now.
No, there is something I must say before I go.
Yeah,
I want to react to Barrister Achu Julius' message. When Barrister Achu is asking whether Gilbert is more Anglophone than the Prime Minister, I don't think even him, Barrister Achu Julius, is more Anglophone than anybody. I want to remind you that when the Prime Minister was in Bamenda with peace plans, Mr. Atanganyi was on FRE promising hell to Anglophones. Let that go down to history. And I want to end with what Song said. This thing has been rigged to a scam by both parties. I want to remind you people again on this platform that a gendarme took my ID card at Bello Control, asked me to pay because on that ID card it was written Enseignant. That means both parties are feeding fat on this crisis.
Okay, thank you for coming.
You are welcome.
Thank you too for coming, Song Derick.
It's always a pleasure to talk about things that concern this nation. And of course, people should not look at us who speak what we think and what we feel to be unpatriotic. We are patriotic, and there is no more Cameroonian than another. But If we insist, then what we are struggling to unite may end up going the other way around. It's not a promise, it's just an opinion.
Thank you for coming. I want to say barrister. I got Gilbert, CEO of CAMIF, promoter, and of course someone who stands firm for against injustice and fight for objectivity, balance and fairness.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's my first time to be here. I've avoided so many invitations to talk about this crisis because I'm so hurt about it. I'm a messenger of peace. I continue my peace campaign, and I will continue speaking for those who are being highly affected. I will continue advocating for justice. I will continue crying and begging. The father of the nation, there is need to talk to your children. Talk to your children now that you have the means to communicate. Talk to them now that the good Lord has given you the grace and authority and wisdom for you to manage this country. The affairs of this country are in the hands of one person, President Paul Biya, and only him has the solution to the current crisis. Every other person is just trying to make himself relevant. So I stand firm on my campaign for peace. Thank you for inviting me.
What matters is your matter. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala Fengudong Bange. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis.